Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Entertainment Now podcast. My name is Nick.
I'm Ian.
And like always, if you're watching this on YouTube, because of course all of our videos should be up on YouTube. They're all up on YouTube now. All of season 1 is all up on YouTube. So if you're watching this on YouTube, give us a thumbs up, drop us a comment, follow the channel, all that fun YouTube-y kind of stuff. If you're listening to the podcast on your favorite podcatcher, whether it's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, which I don't even know if that exists anymore, but wherever you listen to us, leave us a review if you can, and make sure you subscribe to the podcast. What's been going on, Ian? We've been away for like forever.
Yep. And it's been like a month maybe.
I think it's been longer than that. I thought it was like 5 or 6 weeks.
Yeah, it might be 6 weeks actually.
We took our summer break.
Yeah. So really it was just 6 months of the same for me, or 6 weeks of the same for me.
Whole lot of nothing.
Whole lot of nothing. A lot of working.
I will say that if you haven't followed the we have a YouTube channel outside of the Entertainment Now podcast. It's called The Vinyl Den. If you haven't, if you're not followed us on there, make sure you go and check out the Vinyl Den. We do multiple videos every single week. And we had, so Ian and I do a Sunday video every week on the Vinyl Den YouTube channel.
Mhm.
And I will say that the videos are kind of hit and miss. Sometimes we do really good. Sometimes we don't do as good. Some of the other videos do. We had a video just recently, like, blow up. I think it's the most views we've ever had on one of our Sunday videos, which compared to like some other like bigger YouTube channels is not a lot. But for our Sunday video to get 5,000 views, it's a big number for that. I think like the most views we ever had on the channel, I think, was like 14,000 views. So 5,000 is a really good number, I think, for the Sunday videos. There were some really interesting comments though, and I want to go over that because for the most part, then we tend to keep it kind of positive for the most part. For the most part. And then we decided to do kind of a negative video because those are kind of fun to do sometimes also. And
that's I didn't think it was that negative. It was just an opinion based.
Yeah, yes. So the video was most overrated albums of the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember what albums you picked, Ian?
Hotel California,
Dark Side of the Moon,
of course. And I don't remember what third one was.
Frampton Comes Alive.
Oh yeah, Frampton Comes Alive. Yeah.
Do you remember what my picks were?
Your Ziggy Stardust.
Yep.
Exile on Main Street.
Yep.
I don't remember the third
never mind the Bollocks. By the Sex Pistols.
Yeah.
So I was going to kind of touch on some of the more interesting comments we got on the video because for the most part, I don't respond to those comments on YouTube because for the most part, they're like trolly people and things like that. I don't really care.
Which, did you delete one of the comments?
No.
Oh, so why? one of the people, because I replied to some of them politely, but the one that I commented on, I can't find it anymore. So
they might have deleted the comment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't delete comments. I don't give a fuck.
Right.
I will say that the way I have
racist or something.
So the way I have the YouTube channel set up, it automatically flags like potentially like bad comments, racist comments, like extremely vulgar comments like that. It automatically flags them, and then I have to go in and approve those comments.
Gotcha.
I did go. There was like 5 or 6 comments I went in and I was like, "Fuck it, I'm just gonna approve them." Like they weren't like, nothing was like horrible, but I will say that. So I'm gonna kind of go through some of these and kind of poke fun at some of these people, but
yeah.
I apologize if you listen to the podcast and one of these comments were yours, but whatever. This guy said, Exile on Main Street is a masterpiece. What makes it great is that it doesn't have a lot of radio-friendly hits, but every song is solid. You two YouTube meatballs, need to listen to it more, and you might change your mind. I will say that's why I consider it an overrated album, because it is an okay album and it's held up as one of the greatest albums of the 70s. Like, and I think we even talked about in the video that, you know, I don't think these albums were bad. I just don't think they're as great as people make them out to be.
Right. And I don't think Dark Side of the Moon is a bad album. Hotel California is a bad album.
Hotel California is a great album, man.
No, it's a bad album. They're a bad band. They're like I know I even said it in some of my replies and comments. I said, you know, yeah, maybe I'm being a little hyperbolic by saying the Nickelback of the 70s, but I still stand by it because
I will say that
Nickelback has a huge fan base too. It doesn't mean they're good.
I'll say that I actually defended you in one of the comments. And I said that in maybe not in the way that you intended it, but they are the Nickelback of the 70s in the way that they are so polarizing, right? Where people either love them or fucking hate them. Same way with Nickelback. But like concert wise, album sales wise, Nickelback is one of the biggest bands of the 2000s, the same way that the Eagles were one of the biggest bands of the 70s. So I think that is an appropriate comparison to make between those two bands. Right. Maybe not the way that you intended it, but
no, I mean, like I said,
you mean because it's vanilla 2000s rock versus vanilla 70s rock.
Yeah, I don't like using the term vanilla anyway, but
why not? It's plain. It's
because if you go to the store, everything's chocolate. Chocolate is the new vanilla. Everything's chocolate. Chocolate's the bland now, in my opinion. But you know, so I don't like using that term necessarily. But I will say it's the white bread of the 70s and the white bread of the 2000s.
You know, I think like the Eagles were. You know, the Eagles were an interesting band in the way that they were a couple of different things. They were a rock band, but they were also a country band, and they were also you know, a sometimes blues rock. There were sometimes, you know, California rock. There were so many different things going on band wise over the span of the 70s, which is really the only period of their career really worth noting.
Right.
I don't know. I still think Hotel California is a great album, but I will say that I think a couple like the song Hotel California. I think what hurts Hotel California is how fucking overplayed the album is. It's easily one of the most played albums in rock history. And I will say that also the song Hotel California itself, the live version of that song is far superior to the version that's on that album. But
you're talking about From the Hell Freezes Over?
Yes.
Basically their unplugged version.
Well, I mean that Hell Freezes Over was not unplugged, but
no, it kind of is.
I saw a couple other.
I still stand by it. I don't like the Eagles. I don't like that album. No.
Oh, here's another good comment. The title of your show should be Albums We Don't Like. None of the albums are overrated because they're good. If you cannot give good reason to slate an album, then don't bother. These types of shows are becoming ridiculous. There was a top overrated guitarist YouTube on, and so this shit's hard to read the way they write it. Yeah. There was a top overrated guitarist YouTube on, and it had Jimi Hendrix #1 with no in-depth explanation whatsoever. It's a ratings boosting exercise, and it's becoming a dreadful trend. We didn't do this for ratings. We did it just to have a conversation, which that's kind of what the Sunday episodes are about. It's about a conversation.
And ultimately, I mean, I don't know if that we necessarily have to justify our opinions about why we don't like something.
I think we did, though. I thought
Yeah, I
we
mean, it's for the most
with,
part.
with every album we gave a reason why. We didn't just hold something up and be like, yeah, this is shit. Like
Well, I think
next.
I probably was a little unreasonable with with the Eagles and Hotel California just because I don't like their music.
Yeah.
None of it.
Kind
I've
of the same way
never.
I was with Sex Pistols. But
Yeah, I mean, although I still think yours was. You probably still had better justification than I may have with the Eagles, but
yeah.
they're just
Which
they're
which
just not
people
a
fucking
good
hated
band.
people hated the fact that I hate the Sex Pistols too.
Yeah,
There's a lot of those comments on there
right.
also.
I mean, and you could reverse it and say that because we are huge Green Day fans, but there's a lot of people out there that think Green Day is overrated. Um,
Yeah.
you know,
This is another one I found really interesting. And I don't know if this guy's being serious or not. You tell me. He said, in my list of the best 1,600 albums of all time, compiled over 50 years, did this guy really do a list of the top 1,600 albums, or is he just being a jackass? I rate Ziggy 11, Bollocks 32, Dark Side 48, Exile 130, Hotel California 168, and Frampton Comes Alive 1,568.
well,
Like,
I guess him and I kind of agree on the overratedness of Frampton Comes Alive, but yeah, I still know. I mean, it was like one of the comments I replied to. I said it would be a lot harder to make a list of albums that I like and I don't think are overrated than than to make a list that I didn't like.
yeah.
It's a lot harder, and there's a lot fewer albums of the '70s that I don't like.
Well,
I mean,
okay, finish
there's
your
not.
comment there.
There's just seven. I said the '70s was, arguably one of the best decades for music. And
Yeah,
not just rock, but I mean, kind of across the board. I mean,
yeah,
you could argue that the '90s had a bit more diversity to it, but
yeah.
you know,
As far as rock music goes, the
yeah,
70s was the pinnacle. The
right.
90s were the pinnacle for, I think, music overall because of the variety. You had great rock albums being made. You had great country albums being made. You had great
Mhm.
R&B albums. I mean, Garth Brooks had some great albums in the 90s. Johnny Cash had some great music. There were
Mhm.
some great country music before country went to country music and country music anymore. I just call it rural pop music is what it
Mhm.
is. But the 90s for the diversity for like R&B and rap and everything else that were so huge in the 90s. That's why I think like overall as far as diversity goes, I think 90s were like the pinnacle. But when it comes to rock music, the 70s was absolutely the fucking pinnacle of rock music.
Right. So yeah, I don't. For me, it was just I pointed out that it would be a lot harder. It would almost be impossible for me to come up with all the albums that I like. It's just a lot easier to come up with a few that I didn't.
Yeah, I
You
will
know.
say that and before we started recording that episode, we even talked about that.
Mhm.
Um, the fact that I was having a hard time really finding more than 3 albums that I think are like truly overrated as far
Right.
as like 70s albums go. Uh,
Yeah.
I think the 80s would have been a much easier decade for us to do.
Mhm.
I think there's a lot of really overrated 80s music.
Mhm.
Um, but as far as like 70s music go, I think I had a really hard time. And that's why I didn't think like going into it, didn't think we were like hating on most of the albums that we talked about.
Mhm.
I think each one of us had one that we did, but I think that I don't know. I didn't think it was as bad as what some people made it out to be. But whenever anyone feels like their opinion is being attacked, quote unquote attacked,
Right.
I mean that's the way the people respond.
Yeah. Yep.
Just trying to scroll through here and see if there's any other interesting ones. Somebody threw out some interesting ones that someone said Any Doors album. They only released one album in the 70s.
Right. Oh yeah, I didn't even think about like
You
those
know,
terms, but yeah.
and arguably, LA Woman is one of their best albums. So I don't know.
Mm.
Deep Purple,
Yeah, I
Deep Purple made in Japan.
think it's a live album.
Yeah,
Well, so is Frantic Comes Alive, but
yeah,
I'm not a big
uh,
fan of live albums in general anyway. I
yeah.
mean, I'm very picky about them.
Tusk by Fleetwood Mac.
I don't know if that's really, I mean, I know it's rated high amongst their catalog, but it's
I
not
don't know if it's really
anywhere
like
near the high.
overrated though.
Yeah, I mean, it's not, I wouldn't consider it like, I mean, yeah, I don't, maybe. I don't know their catalog that well, to be honest with you. I know they're self-titled. I know Rumors. I know Tangle in the Night. That's about it.
Yeah. Yeah, but there's a lot of there's definitely some interesting comments. So I will say that I won't go on too long about that. I will say that if you want a good laugh, go check out the Vinyl Den. Go check out the most overrated albums of the 70s and scroll through some interesting conversations.
Yeah, the one that I was talking about that got deleted or I couldn't find it was the one about body language.
Body language.
Yeah, the guy was commenting on my body language. It looked like I didn't want to be there. So I just I was polite and I explained to him why I
You're
see
like
it that way.
you were like, yes, I didn't want to be there. I'm being held against my will is what you should have said. I'm being human trafficked to be on YouTube videos.
There's a small element of truth to that, but
there is. That's why I'm laughing about it
yeah.
again.
But overall, yeah, I mean, I explained it to him
Yeah,
why I was like that, and why he misinterpreted it.
maybe
Then I couldn't find the video anymore, or find the comment anymore. I mean,
well, maybe he was like, oh, okay, well, I'm just gonna delete that comment then.
well, he could have just said apologize. There was somebody else who um it was one of the comments about, these guys don't know what they're talking about or something like that. And I just I pointed out, I said,
We get that all the time.
right. Well, I pointed out, I said, we all have opinions. Um, and I said that I pointed out that the person commenting, I don't know if it was a he or she or they, I said, I would probably agree with them on music more often than I would disagree with them.
Yeah.
When it comes to, especially when it comes to the 70s, and I just kind of laid it out like that. And then the next comment they made was, yeah, sorry about that. I didn't mean it to sound that way. It was, very apologetic. So,
yeah. So kind of going in a different direction. So we haven't been on the podcast together in a while. So I kind of wanted to go over some stuff that recently has kind of caught my attention. So two music acts did something. Well, I guess we'll just start. We'll start with Miranda Lambert.
Yeah,
are you
that.
Are you familiar
with what happened? I'm not necessarily. I don't really understand the backlash. I haven't really read into it that far, but I don't really understand what the backlash is about, and if there is backlash or if it's there. I don't know. I don't know where people are falling on that. But.
So Miranda Lambert is doing a Las Vegas residency. Do you know who Miranda Lambert is?
I do.
Yeah. She was God, who is she married to? She's married to he's on The Voice now. What the fuck, why am I drawing a blank on his name?
That Blake guy?
Yeah.
Blake Shelton, I guess.
Yeah, Blake Shelton. So she was married to Blake Shelton. They got divorced, and then Blake is now with Gwen Stefani. But so there's like this rift. People are either like Team Blake or Team Miranda. This is like going back years, right?
Right.
So there's already been like some animosity towards Miranda Lambert for years now because of her divorce, which I don't know why people get fucking tied up in the personal lives of fucking celebrities anyway. I think it's fucking dumb. But anyway, whatever. So she's doing this Las Vegas residency. She's up on stage, and there's four older women. They look like they're in their 40s, maybe 50s. Took a picture. They turned around, took a picture with Miranda Lambert on stage behind them. Miranda Lambert got mad stopped the show, like publicly chastised these women for taking a picture during her show, because they used a flash, I guess. So,
Okay.
and then like I don't remember like the exact language, but she like berated them, and people got mad and like walked out of her concert over it. So now there's been all this backlash, of her attacking her fans basically over just doing something that has people have been doing for years. First off, I'm going to say if I spend $700 to go to your fucking show, I'll read fucking Shakespeare in the first row. I don't give a fuck. Like,
Right.
if I'm paying that kind of money to go see you in concert.
I agree with that.
Secondly, this is a Las Vegas residency. This is not a tour that she's doing. So a lot of the crowd there that you have there are probably people that are just looking to go out and have a nice night. They aren't necessarily your core fan base.
Right.
So I guess I would expect more things like that to happen in a crowd. Thirdly, I've been going to concerts for years. There's been flash photography at every fucking concert I've ever been to. So to get mad at somebody look like they're in the pit, but they're not very far from the stage. It looks like they're maybe 5 or 10 rows from the stage. Took a picture. Like that's what you have security for, right? I mean, am I off base on this? Like in between songs, say go over to talk to security. Hey, can you ask these people to not take pictures during the show?
Right. Well, security should have even been aware of it. They should have seen the flash and gone just, doing their job. It's not her job, is the point.
Yeah.
I don't really understand that. I mean, yeah, it sucks. I mean, to have that distraction going on. But if it's a residency, you're up there, what, 5 times a week, 4 times a week? You should be able to do it in your sleep. She's a professional, theoretically. So you just don't make such a big deal about it. And, it would be different if they were like attacking someone in the audience, because there's been stories where artists have stopped a show because there's like someone's being attacked in the audience, or security's getting out of hand with the audience, those kinds of things. And those make sense because that's something that, you're up high, you have a platform to stop that, or at least to bring attention to it. Whereas what she did is just, that's almost ego. Like an ego thing. Like you're interrupting me.
I will say there has been a host of musicians that have come out in the last couple of days blasting Miranda Lambert for this.
Right.
Like there's been a couple of musicians that have posted pictures of themselves in the crowd singing with fans during their show. Like LL Cool J came out and said basically get over it. Like you're on stage, you're a musician, people are going to take pictures with you. Like yeah,
it sucks, but if you don't like it, it sucks. But it kind of goes with the territory. And like you said, if those tickets are that expensive, fuck her.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly how, but they're expensive. I know they are. But I don't know. I was trying to find what exactly she fucking said to them. But yeah, it's online. I'm sure you can find it. It's I think, like I said, it's one of those things you've got to be used to, especially if you've been singing on stage for 20 plus fucking years.
Right.
Someone takes a picture, you see a flash. Is it just because you're like anti, I guess if you have that big a problem with it, do what Chris Rock and other comedians do, and there's other bands and artists that do it too, and have people put away their cell phones before or lock up their cell phones for the show.
Right.
If you have that big of a problem with it.
Yeah, I'm not comfortable with that either. I mean, but
neither am I, because like I said, if I'm paying that kind of money to go to your show,
right.
I mean, if I want to play fucking Pac-Man on my phone while you're up on stage singing, isn't that my right? I mean, I'm paying the money to go to your show.
Right.
I mean, is it disrespectful and rude? Yeah. But that's
what I was gonna go with it. It's like there's not a defined etiquette for that. There never really has been.
Yeah.
I don't think, at least in this country. I know in Europe it's a little different. There has, but from what I understand, there that etiquette's even starting to break down a bit in Europe, in European countries. Just because younger generations aren't adhering to it, and it just is what it is. And it's really it. Ultimately, it's not any different. If you went to a Zeppelin show or a Stone show or a Pink Floyd show back in the day, people were not, there were people out in the crowds that were doing drugs, they were fighting, they were having sex. There was tons of people doing stuff that was antithetical to the reason why they were there. And I would even say that that's what these women were doing, because they were just trying to take a snapshot of their experience.
Okay.
I would say that
I'm going to show you the picture real quick, if you can see it. Can you see it in the camera there? I don't know if you're listening to the podcast, you can't see it. But if you're watching on YouTube, that's the picture. Right. There's like 6 older women having their picture taken in front of the stage.
Right. I would say that there's obvious there's a big flash there, and that's not a phone camera. That flash is way too bright for the phone camera, and it's too wide.
I can do that with my phone.
Okay. There's still a bright flash. It's still obvious.
But like I said, though, like after that song, just make a blanket statement. Hey, please be respectful of the musicians on the stage and people in the crowd. Please refrain from flash photography.
Right. Yeah, she definitely, I'm not saying she wasn't. She was definitely out of line. First of all, it's not her right to berate anybody.
Yeah.
Whether they did something she didn't like or not. I mean, that's a total Karen move. It's not your place.
It's funny. There's tons of articles about it, but nothing
says what she said.
These girls are worried about their selfie and not listen to the song. It's pissing me off a little bit. I guess that's what she said.
I mean, was it a song that is gonna change
fucking
the
matter?
World?
Yeah, nothing Miranda Lambert singing is changing the fucking world, Ian.
No, that was my point. Nothing anyone is singing is changing the world.
There is something that somebody is singing that's changing the world. People are singing about things you can't do in small towns, Ian.
Yeah, well, that's not changing the world. That's reverting the world backwards.
So, Jason Aldean, are you familiar with who Jason Aldean is?
I am now. I wasn't before all this.
He is a country music singer, a quote unquote country music singer.
Yeah.
Now, unlike Morgan Wallen, so do you know who Morgan Wallen is?
I do not.
Okay, so Morgan Wallen is a country music singer also. Morgan Wallen was on The Voice. Morgan Wallen had a very kind of mediocre, run-of-the-mill country music career until Morgan Wallen got in trouble for dropping the N-word. Yeah. And then all these people drove out in droves to support Morgan Wallen because Morgan Wallen was being attacked by the mainstream media. And now
the woke left.
Yes, and now Morgan Wallen has sold out his world tour. So
it looks like this new guy, Jason Aldean, is going to do the same thing.
Yeah, well, Jason Aldean's been around a lot longer than Morgan Wallen. Jason Aldean has had a very successful country music career. But this has kind of the same kind of feel to me. Like, so with the song, he's singing about things that you wouldn't dare do in a small town. I will say that the song has been out. The song has been out for several months now.
Yeah, I read some of the lyrics.
Yeah, I've got the lyrics pulled up here also. The video came out last Friday, I believe, or 2 Fridays ago. It was receiving heavy airplay on CMT until people started making complaints to CMT, and CMT was like, maybe this isn't something we need to have on our channel, and they pulled the video down. CMT has banned it. It's on regular rotation pretty much everywhere also. I will say that this video has already amassed over 6 million views on YouTube. So if his intent was to gain publicity from it, it absolutely fucking worked, because he's got the #1 song in the country also now. So
right.
But this song is about things you can't do in a small town. If you go watch the video, there is news clips over much of the video. But the way it kind of plays off is you think these news clips are stuff here in the US. Some of the clips are from fucking Ukraine in like 2013. There's other news clips where he's singing about things you can't do in a small town, that's showing scenes from Black Lives Matter rallies. It's all just like stock news footage. The biggest thing to me, though, and one that I noticed right away as someone who lived in Tennessee and knows the history in Tennessee, the video of Jason Aldean and his band playing in this little town, the like town square area, is done in front of the Maury County Courthouse. And right away, I knew exactly what the fuck it was. So people that like, and maybe that's it. Maybe people that don't know Southern history aren't aware of this, and that's why it's like that's why they call it. It's a dog whistle. Right. It's a dog whistle to people that believe a certain thing or think a certain way. The Maury County Courthouse, if you aren't familiar with it, it was a site of a very, very famous lynching. It was also a site of a very, very famous race riot in the 40s. There's there's other things, there's been movies that have been filmed there also, but the Hallmark movie or the Christmas movie that was shot there had nothing to do with race or anything like that, where there are very explicit things. Now Jason Aldean doesn't mention race in his song, but there are very obvious homages in the video to race.
Yeah.
And that's
what else is he talking about? I mean, I'm assuming he's referring to like crime and all the undertones of racism are there, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So even if he's not saying it, he's not using those words, he's implying it. And it seems intentional that he's implying it. And when you have a song that's so toxically masculine too, on top of that, about the implication of you come to our town and you don't act the way we want you to, we're not calling the cops, we're going to take care of this ourselves. And what does that mean?
Yes.
So excuse me.
So I was trying to pull up some of the so there's is this the hold on. All right, so the song is called Try That in a Small Town. Yeah. Sucker punch somebody on a sidewalk, carjack an old lady at a red light, pull a gun on an owner of a liquor store. You think it's cool, well, act a fool if you like. Cuss out a cop, spit in his face, stomp on the flag and light it up. Yeah, you think you're tough. It just, where's the one part I was looking for? There's here it is. Got a gun my granddad gave me. They say one day they're gonna round up. Well, that shit might fly in the city. Good luck. Do you know what Jason Aldean is also famous for? He was on stage in Las Vegas when there was 60 fucking people murdered in front of him.
Oh.
So when you have it in that video, in that part of the video, there's people like holding their guns and shooting them. Like that's like I find that like highly insensitive to the people that were fucking murdered at your concert and their families. It's things like that. Like
they don't care about that.
They don't care about that. And it's like so badly portrayed. And the way this whole thing is kind of rolled out, if I was Jason Aldean and this was going on and I was a musician and I came out and said something along the lines of, look, that's not the way it was intended. You know, that's not what I meant by any of this. I'm sorry that, you know, that people are taking it that way. I understand why the video was pulled down. You know, please accept my sincere apology, something along those lines.
Right.
I think it would have gone a long way in fixing the situation. He kind of did that, actually. He did go on and have at least a statement similar to that. And then his wife went on fucking Twitter.
Right.
His wife went on Twitter basically saying, "We will never apologize. This is freedom of speech. Don't never come at us." All this like crazy shit, and made the situation probably a million times worse.
Right.
And I want to be like, who the fuck are you? Like, the only reason you have a platform is because you're married to some guy.
Right. Well,
I mean, I hate to sound like sexist or whatever, but I mean, that's the fucking truth.
Well, it could just be as easily been the reverse, where she could have been the artist who did the video, and he could
That's
be
true.
the asshole.
That's true.
You know, asshole has no gender.
Yeah. And there's other like dog whistle parts of this song when he sings about the good old boys, right? There was a group. Was it the Good Old Boys or the Good Old Boys Gang or something like that? But it was a group of police officers that would assemble in Tennessee every year, and it was all very racist. It was very racist undertones. Everything else they did were, you know, connections to the Klan and all sorts of stuff. Yeah. So there is like, even if he didn't intend it that way, there is a racist element connected to that verbiage, right?
It's not, and it because of the nature of the song as well. It's not like the Dukes of Hazzard theme, you know, where they're good old boys. You can almost excuse that to a point, even though they've got the Confederate flag on the General Lee, and they call it the General Lee.
Yeah.
You can almost see there's an innocence to that, whereas this is because of the nature of the song, is the implication is there.
Yeah.
What, conscious or unconscious, I don't believe him that he didn't intend it the way it was meant, because he's playing.
There's too many. There's too many. There's too many, you know, key points that were hit in that. And the song and in the video.
And he knows he's playing to a certain base.
Yeah.
So I there's nothing innocent about this. The one thing I would say is that in this day and age, you know, with the Bud Light stuff and the Florida stuff, the outrage is giving these people a platform. Yeah. Maybe we should just ignore them.
Yeah.
We should just start ignoring this shit, because if no one had said anything about this song, it would have come and gone, and it, you know, would have faded away into the history of crappy country music, like all the other shit that's coming out right now. And, you know, granted, is it wrong what he did? Yeah, absolutely. Should it be taken down? Probably. But everything is so intensified right now. Stop. Just ignore these fuckers, man. Yeah. Ignore them. Let them be their racist asshole pieces of shit that they are, because nothing we say is going to change them at all. In fact, we're only emboldening them now, because now they have now
a bigger platform.
They have a bigger platform. They have 6 million views on YouTube. They have their song's #1. They're making a fortune off of being assholes.
Yep.
And all we're doing is encouraging that. You know, so
I will say that there was one more part of the song I kind of wanted to kind of key in on. Mm-hmm. So one of the last parts of the song says, "Try that in a small town." Hold on one second. Yeah. "Try that in a small town. See how far you make it down the road. Around here, we take care of our own. You cross the line. It won't take long for you to find out. I recommend you don't. Try that in a small town." Like, when I listened to this song, and this is before like I started digging into all this other stuff that was attached to it, like my very first thought, my very first image that popped into my head was the Freedom Riders. That's the very first thing I thought of were the Freedom Riders in the 60s. That's what they were doing. Going to small towns in the South, trying to, bring people to the civil rights movement, and they were murdered in Philadelphia, Mississippi for it.
Right.
That's what they did. And now I'm also seeing like the Kyle Rittenhouse shit being posted all over the line. Well, this is the last time someone tried to do that in a small town. I will also say on I'll leave it all the Jason Aldean stuff with this. If I were to tell you, so Jason Aldean, when in his quote unquote apology, the statement he did about it, he talked about how he wanted to create a song that was about the community he felt growing up, and how they took care of each other, and knew everyone in town. You know where Jason Aldean lived and grew up at?
Nashville,
Macon, Georgia, which I believe is a third. Hold on. I'll get to that.
Okay.
He grew up in Macon, Georgia, which is like the third or fourth biggest city in Atlanta. In Georgia, right? Really? And then after his parents divorced, he split time between Macon, Georgia, and Homestead, Florida, which is a big suburb south of Miami.
Oh.
And then he moved to Nashville.
Okay.
So what the fuck does he know about growing up in a small town? Nothing. No. This was all dog whistle bullshit. It was all about taking that Morgan Wallen approach. We're going to go out there. We're going to cause a big old ruckus. We're going to get all this publicity. People are going to come out in droves to support us, and we're going to sell out a fucking tour.
And that's exactly what they're going to do.
And the fucking rubes buy it up.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, if we, as rightfully so, as angry as we get about this stuff, the fact that it's still going on in this day and age, it's like a bully. I mean, that's kind of what they're trying to do. They're just trying to bully their way back into the mainstream.
Yeah,
don't let them.
That's working.
It is working, but let's not let them anymore. The next racist country star that comes out and does a fucking song or wants to shoot a fucking case of Bud Light, let him. His wife was right about one thing. It is free speech. You can be an asshole. You're allowed to be an asshole in this country.
Free speech really only applies to the government, but okay.
Right, but as far as
the government's not gonna shut you down for what you're saying.
No, but the fact is that when people try to do it, it just emboldens them and it gives them a bigger platform. So what we need to do is just ignore these motherfuckers. Don't give them the satisfaction of letting them even know that you're pissing them off, because the world is moving away from them. They're getting left behind.
Not fast enough, but
they're going to be left behind.
Yeah, eventually. I will say that
let's start leaving them behind now. Let's start forgetting about them now.
I will say that country music over the course of the past, I'd say 20 years, has a history or has formed a history of dog whistles in their music and in their videos. There is if you go, well, I'm gonna get to that in a second. Yeah. If you go online, if you go on Reddit, there's this whole Reddit thread of just post after post of all the people are just listing all the dog whistles, all their country music songs, and all of that I think really started with Toby Keith when he did his fucking the country's gonna put their boot up your ass or whatever the fuck his stupid ass song was. It's all about fake patriotism
and toxic masculinity.
Yeah, well, I mean, even that aside, I think the bigger problem in the U.S. is not really toxic masculinity; it's fake patriotism. Yeah, I drove by a semi on the highway a couple days ago, and he has this huge American flag flying off the back of his truck. I'm like, that doesn't make you patriotic. Actually supporting your country makes you fucking patriotic. Flying the flag is just a piece of cloth.
It's the symbol.
It's the symbol of the United States. It's not and that's the thing that really drives me crazy is when I see people who have the American flag, and then they'll have the Confederate flag, or they'll have the "Don't tread on me" flag. It's they're not on the same side. Like,
no,
pick one.
right.
So
well, what it is they like all the ideals from the other two flags, and they just want to incorporate those into the American flag.
Yes.
That's it. That's all that's about.
But I don't know, Ian. What else is going on out there? Nothing.
Well, there's a lot going on, but most of it we could talk about in our next show.
How long have we been talking so far? We've been talking for a while.
Yeah, well, half hour, 45 minutes at least.
Oh, let's see. Oh yeah, we are kind of long. Maybe we'll kind of wrap it up here. And the other thing I wanted to talk about, we'll talk about next week, maybe. How about that?
Okay, sounds good.
So any questions or comments, you can email us at entnowpod@gmail.com. If you're following us if you're watching this on YouTube, drop us a comment, give us a like, give us the old thumbs up, all that YouTube kind of stuff. Yeah, that stuff there.
That down there.
Yeah, that.
Click the subscribe button.
That. Do all. And what the fuck are you doing?
I don't know. There might be stuff up there or over there.
There is stuff up there and over there. But anyway, there'll be like a YouTube logo over there. So you want to point to the YouTube logo, Ian?
Is that what you want there?
Yeah.
That way.
And then if you put cards in your video, your cards are over on this side. Yeah. And then the like and subscribe button is down there.
Okay.
All right. But if you're the fuck is all that? But if you're listening to some of your favorite podcatcher, give us a 5-star review, all that podcast kind of stuff. Anything else, Ian?
Nope.
All right, man. Well, until next time.
Talk to y'all later.
Peace, motherfuckers.
Play my role, let me tell you about it. This shit right here, man, I'm about it. Only real niggas reside around me. Yo, lady, drop a guard around me. Dip like I know you can, bitch. Show me the ropes like we in the rain.